You're listening to 101 Part-Time Jobs with me, Giles Bidder. This is where we hear from musicians and artists about what it's like doing that today. And we bring on bands that we think are great, artists who are releasing records that are brilliant. On today's episode, we hear from Male. That's spelled M-H-A-O-L, but if you're listening to this, you already know that. It's called Something Soft, their second album. Their debut album came out a couple of years ago. That's called Attachment Styles. They've had an EP in the middle called Gender Studies. And sonically, it's a dynamic range. You know, it's a feeling, this band. And for me, it's alone music. You know, it's going for a walk alone, sitting in my bedroom alone, hermit time music. And I think we all need that, at least sometimes. Something Soft is the album coming out on the 16th of May on Merge Records, the brilliant label from the States that has put out everything from Waxahachie to Superchunk. Also coming out on their own Tull collective, which looks like an excellent collective of women between Dublin and London. They're from Dublin, Male are, but now they're living all over the place, as we hear on this episode. Thanks so much for being here. Feel free to click subscribe or leave 5 stars if you're feeling extra friendly. We put out 2 episodes every week with bands and artists who we think are great. Some of them you might have heard of, others you might not have heard of. But the common thread is that they're interesting, exciting bands that I think are worth listening to, and listening to these interviews gives something extra to enjoy with the record. Hopefully, that's the plan. All right, cheers for being here. And on the other side of this, we'll be hearing from Male, which is Connie, Jamie and Sean. 101 part-time jobs.
Yeah, I think all 3 of us are actually working while we're doing this, if that's in any way helpful.
It is incredibly helpful. Are you both technically skiving? Don't worry, we won't tell your boss.
Yeah, that's okay. Jamie will be joining in a minute, I think. She's also working.
Excellent. How many gigs do you reckon you've booked under the table at work?
I work in music anyway.
Okay.
So is it really under the table? I don't know.
Do you ever get worried about people seeing your computer screen if you're working in the shared office?
No, people see my computer screen. I'm literally like, look at this, guys. Look what we got offered. It's
look what's happening next.
Yeah, no, where I've given up. I don't think I ever actually started trying to hide it.
I wonder if that's the best way.
Yeah, I use the argument that me being in a band and doing stuff with this actually helps me that in my day job. So, you know, you swings and roundabouts, really.
Like you say, like if you're working in music, surely you should be taking lessons from one and putting them in the other. Benefits the whole picture. So Sean's in the record store. What do you do, Constance?
I work in artist management.
Okay. What kind of genres? What kind of sounds?
Alternative.
Yes. Very diplomatic answer.
Yes. Yeah.
It's kind of a bit of everything management, isn't it?
Yes, it is. My background is more working in record labels.
Yeah.
But over a year and a half ago now, I moved more into a management space.
Yeah.
It's fun. But yeah, it is. It's literally everything. Jobs. Sean, do people talk to you in a record shop?
Yeah, too much. Yeah. Yeah, trying to get stuff done. And then people talk. Yeah. People want to have conversations. Well, that's okay. That's part of the job.
They're having the experience.
What's your kind of clientele? What's your demographic?
It's like high fidelity.
Yeah. It's a mix, yeah. It's kind of a mix. It's not a specialist store, so yeah, pretty broad mix.
Have you noticed yourself in the time that you've been working there become more agitable?
Yeah, I guess a little bit. I think that's going to work in any job, though.
That's true.
Once you get more used to it, more comfortable, you can. Yeah.
Here she is.
Hi, Jamie. How's it going?
Hello. Good. Sorry I'm late now.
Are you at work as well?
I'm actually not. So I was at work last night. I was doing a show and it went really well, which is good. Nice. But I was expecting to have to be in for like fixes this morning. But it went so well. But
what kind of fixes is that?
Oh, so it's a dance show. So it's in a theatre in Dunleary, just the south side of Dublin. I'm playing a drum machine in a techno trio.
Awesome. That sounds brilliant, and I want to know more about it. Did you start in it? Like, did you join the project? How did it work?
My friend Daniel Fox, who's in Gilliband, he was commissioned to do the music for this dance show, and I was the first person. He was like, "We should get Jamie to do the drums." So
Awesome.
it's been going on for about 5 years now. So.
Oh wow! All right, that's good.
It first happened in 2020. It was, I think, 3 or 4 shows in 2020, which was obviously like as much as could happen that year. And then I think it went to the Fringe in 2022, but I was actually on tour with Mail while it was at the Fringe, so I didn't do that.
Edinburgh Fringe?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I think it did like 10 days there or something.
Nice.
And then, was it last year, the year before, there was another run of the shows? And then this is like a small Irish tour that we're doing at the moment.
Yeah, wicked.
Potentially there might be European shows.
Yeah, excellent. Just hearing from Constance and Sean about them working in management and at the record store respectively. And I mean, to give some background, 101 Part-Time Jobs, I started a few years ago because it's like you're starting to learn, and like over the last 10 years, I feel like sort of things are less and less behind the red velvet curtain. You know, you understand how people operate, and that kind of sense of communication I thought was really powerful, because I think whether you're someone who wants to make it your job, or you're a fan, or whether you just got an instrument at home that you're playing, there's something really empowering and positive about like that communication of playing music and what it's like to do it. And that is, it's like, it's a chaotic world, right? That's like actually kind of establishing some kind of sustainability seems like so chaotic. So it's great to hear that the three of you have been able to work in music.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're really lucky that we work in music as our day jobs.
The lines are blurred, aren't they?
The lines are so blurred. And I also think that we learn a lot from our day jobs to then bring into the band, and vice versa. Yeah, I think that it can be quite nice to speak to other bands and hear what they actually do to pay their rent as well.
Because there's an element of, I think people are maybe shy to say it, but there's a lot of competition in like bands. You know, when you're starting out and you hear like that local band is getting the support slot that you wanted and all of that business, and that's the opposite of the way it should be. You know, people should be supporting one another, a full harbour and all that.
We never really had that.
Great.
I don't know if we just didn't. I don't know. Maybe because the rationale for starting the band was different. It wasn't to like become the biggest band in the world. So I would say it's been like few and far between experiences of us seeing other bands getting something we wanted and being like, damn, why is that not us? Also, I think like we're a bit older, so we're kind of out of that little rat race situation that goes on, I think, in like
you're adults
local scenes when people are like 21.
Yeah,
we're 10 years older than that, so we kind of are not in that competitive stage, I think.
Yeah. And Constance, you're living in London. You said you were at the Scala last night.
Yeah, I live in London. Yeah, I've been over here on and off for like 5.5 years.
Yeah. How's that like pragmatically getting to see the other two and like getting together?
Well, Jamie, she lives in Belfast too, so it's Dublin, London and Belfast.
Right, yeah.
But I mean, it used to be Dublin, London, Belfast, Cork and Bristol, so we're used to it, is what I would say. We're getting there.
Sending demos across the wire.
We only write when we're together. We only really do any of the creative stuff when we are together. I'm sure Jamie can speak more on it, but we write and record a lot of the time at the same kind of time. So we set really silly deadlines for ourselves because that's the only amount of time that we can actually spend together, because we also have other jobs and we have to come up with something out of that time.
Jamie, do you produce the records?
Yeah. So I
okay.
like produce and record and mix and master.
Is that something that you taught yourself?
Yeah. So I I did go to school for it, but I spent most of the time in that college just being like, I already know all this. Like, which was,
Familiar story.
yeah, kind of a frustrating way to go through education. But yeah, because at the time that I was in college as well, I had just started to kind of intern at a studio in Dublin. So all of the stuff that, you know, in college, you get to work in a real studio environment. I was getting to do with like actual clients in an actual studio, as opposed to like, it's a studio building, but you're like working with all of your like classmates. Like Connie was one of the only people who wasn't a classmate of mine who I worked with while I was in college, within the college thing. Because I don't know if Connie has mentioned her Fears project that's been going on for years.
No.
But yeah, I had met Connie at a gig when she was playing as Fears, and as part of one of my college projects, it was like, go and find someone to record it. And I was like, Connie was fucking cool. Like, that music was awesome. Like, let's get her in.
Yeah, it was fun.
But yeah, like 2 years in college, and what did we spend, like 3 evenings in a studio together?
Yeah.
I was just like, why are we doing this?
I think it was about that, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that autodidactic way of living, you know, of taking something and figuring it out yourself. Because I think something I like learned probably a little bit later on is that if you like the way you record is an instrument itself. Like everything that you use is an instrument, right? And it's like part of the creation of it. And so it is creative. And I'm a big fan of like what allows you to do that. And I think like time is a huge factor in allowing yourself to learn how to do something. How do you think that you all kind of found the time?
I think a lot of grit and determination. We've been a band for many, many years. So I actually somewhat struggle to remember how we initially started to figure out how we work together. I think the fact that we do so much in-house really helps. So like having somebody like Jamie who records all of our stuff and produces all of our stuff and mixes and masters and does everything ever. It's really helpful because that actually takes some of the time pressure out of it for us, like trying to fit into somebody else's schedule there. We only do really have to factor in our schedules.
It's good, self-sustainable.
Yeah, we are. I mean, like we do the videos and the artwork and everything as well ourselves. So everything is kind of done to our schedule, which is probably the only way things would get done because our schedule doesn't make sense.
Yeah, to anybody else.
Yeah.
It's like trying to introduce somebody into it. It's like, it's too many gears.
Yeah, I mean, we were trying to schedule even shooting a video a few weeks ago, and I think I lost years of my life on that.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of talking about things, and then a very small bit of doing things, and then an awful lot of like talking about how we can arrange to do the things, and then very compressed part of doing the thing.
Yeah, it's way more talking than doing.
Mainly planning is what we do, or what Connie does.
Oh, well, we all do. We're not actually a band. We're just a planning company.
We're just a logistics company.
It's just a logistics company. That's all this is, and a travel agent.
Well, you got it set out. You know, you're QBE, qualified by experience.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do after this all fails. Is set up a travel agency.
How do you think you've developed the patience for it all? Because that stuff, even talking about it for a few minutes here, it's like that is enough to make any sane person go round the absolute bend.
We do get asked that a fair bit, just in terms of, if we're trying to, it's different if we're doing a tour, but if we're doing one-off summer shows, we have to get everybody from different places to the show in a different country, usually, which involves a lot of different flights and a lot of different coordinating. Do I wish it was different? Yes. But it just kind of is what it is. And if we want to play the show, then we just kind of have to get on with it. It just gets complicated if like somebody's flight is delayed or something and, you're meant to all be arriving at the same time, but then that's magically not happening anymore.
It sounds like it helps if you can all share a sense of humor about it.
Yeah. I mean, We did very well though. We were just in the States and we were really lucky with our travel over there. Nothing went wrong, did it?
No, well, I mean, we all actually travelled there together and
Oh
left
God,
together
that's the
and
difference. Never
travelled the
mind.
entire time together.
Ignore what I just said. We did it like a normal band, and then it worked. Shock.
101, 101, part-time jobs. 101, 101, 101, part-time jobs. So you work in music now. I imagine, those things don't just happen when you're 18 or 21. You don't just get gifted a job, a junior role. There's so much time and kind of meandering within those sort of years of trying to work out what you want to do and also getting the opportunities to do things. What are your stories of kind of leaving school, kind of fucking around and figuring out how to pay rent, how to actually do something that makes you somewhat content?
So I enjoyed when you mentioned earlier on, like how for most people there seems to be an awful lot of chaos in that thing, because I was like, yeah, cool, he gets it. Yeah, I did a lot of fucking around and finding out, and it was all based on like living in my parents' house and trying to figure out how to make being a musician or like working in studios I didn't realize for a long time that I wanted to like record music and like mix and master. So yeah, that was what I found out after I fucked around. I was basically like wandering around trying to figure out how my route into music was gonna like take shape for I think 2 years after school, and then I realized okay, it's like through the studio, and then I did those like 2 years of college. I had tried to do like music performance in college beforehand as well, and I was just like, this is actually, I don't want to be taught how to do this, I just want to do it.
Yeah.
So like I had a year off after school where I just like sat around being like, what the fuck am I doing? And then like did I think 3 or 4 months of music performance in college. And then again, another year to like, what the fuck am I doing? And then that was when I was like, oh, okay, it's the studio. And yeah, since then I've just been like slowly figuring out how to make that viable.
Because there's my first thought is that like a studio is a business. So, there is money. The idea is there's money coming in and you're part of but everything's expensive first of all. So to even initially start up, that's tens of thousands of pounds.
Yeah, 100. This was where I was like trapped for years. It was like, okay, because my main goal, which is like what I'm doing now, is being a mastering engineer. Okay, step one is find a building that is appropriate to do that in. And I was like trying to base myself in Dublin at the time as well, which was just like, okay, well, step one is like find £500,000 to buy a building. Like, what the fuck? Or like, $2,000 a month to rent a like little hovel that I can work out of that is potentially going to be like full of noise pollution that will make it totally unusable, and then buy all the equipment and then buy all the like sound treatment and like it was hard to figure out how that was supposed to work.
And so Dublin, we hear a lot about how Dublin is incredibly hard to afford to live there. Is Belfast a little cheaper?
Way cheaper, yeah. It's like what myself and my partner are paying for our house, she was paying for a single room.
So now you're on that path where you're working, you're getting paid, and various live projects playing live.
Yeah, like it's still a slow snowball to grow, but like I think it was only about 2 years ago that I was able to like really start in earnest, like marketing myself as a mastering engineer. And it started off with like 1 or 2 small projects that kind of got enough attention that other people became interested, and then like that kind of proved myself to some other like producers and engineers that I know that then were able to like confidently pass me more work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Like, it's not fully sustainable yet, but it's like, yeah, it's weird. It's like, it's my main gig, but it's still very much a part-time gig, you know? So
Yeah.
it's,
You're heaving yourself up. You're climbing.
yeah, slowly, piece by piece.
How many records had you mastered before sort of 2 years ago at that point when people started calling you?
I had done, so there were, I think, 2 records that I had like recorded that just weren't mastered. So the mixes were the masters. And then there was one compilation record that I did. So like I'd done very little. I had worked briefly like as an assistant in a mastering house. So like I saw how it was all supposed to work and understood the technicalities, and I knew how it was supposed to happen. It was purely just the like, okay, I need a building to do this in now.
It's kind of like chicken and egg.
Yeah.
Like you need experience to do the work, but you need work
Exactly, yeah.
to do the work.
Yeah. Which, like, yeah, that's the spot that I'm in now, where I'm like slowly accumulating the experience to like be more confident to be like, I'm not just calling myself a mastering engineer, I am one.
Yeah. And seeing yourself as that's such a trip. Like learning to see yourself as like a professional, even though it's weird to say that word, but
yeah, I can imagine, Connie, do you probably feel the same about that, being like, I'm not like saying I'm a manager, I am a manager.
Yeah. I still am just like, I work in management rather than actually saying I am a manager.
do you think it would be more helpful to call yourself a manager? Talking like ideal worlds and all that stuff. Like, do you reckon it would give you more confidence to be like, yeah, that's what I am. I am what I am. I'm a manager.
Maybe, but I actually, to be honest, I'm so busy doing the job most of the time that I don't really think about how I'm advertising that I do the job.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time I don't find myself having to introduce what I do, because I'm meeting people through already doing the work.
Yeah.
But no, that's a good point.
Did you have some fallow times to, in terms of work and being like, fuck, what am I doing?
I've known I wanted to work in music since I was like 15, I'd say. When I finished school, I did a 1-year course in music management and sound engineering. And then I did a degree in journalism, and I specialized in radio. And I actually moved to Belfast as well from Dublin. And I worked at some like an art gallery there, and I also freelanced in BBC there in the radio.
Yeah.
And I worked on music radio shows there. And I was in Belfast until I was 25. And then I applied for an internship at a record label and management company in London. And then they said I was too qualified to be an intern, but would I come over and help on a project anyway?
Great.
And I said, hell yeah.
Yeah.
And I called them constantly for about 9 months until they gave me a start date. And I had no shame. I didn't give a shit.
I mean, that is the way to actually make things happen, is to be persistent and polite.
I mean, the person who did my interview ended up being like my first best friend in London anyway.
Brilliant.
She's an angel. But yeah, I just kept calling. And then it would get to the point where she answers and I'm like, hey, did you listen to that podcast that I recommended? Like, I was just like, the thing is that you already offered me something, so now you have to deliver it. So you just tell me when that's happening and I'm on a plane.
That seems to be a lot of that in this world, which is a lot of there's a lot of looseness around it.
I think the music industry is a very loose industry, more so that I talk to a lot of my friends who work in other industries like tech or like insurance or something, and things are a lot more kind of by the book. Whereas I think with music, people make a lot of promises and then don't expect you to hold them to those.
Yeah.
So then when you're like, actually, I have an email from you.
I'm coming round your house now.
I'm there. I know the address. I've done Street View. Yeah.
But you're not nervous. You don't get the nerves. You don't get the jitters.
I honestly didn't care. I was 25 and wanted to move to London. And I also didn't actually know any of these people, so it didn't really matter what they thought about me. I was like, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I will genuinely never see them again.
Brilliant. That's a great way to live.
But it worked. It did work. I'm still here.
Sean, what was there? I mean, going into a record store and asking for a job. Do you know, I always think of, I'm not sure if they do it anymore, but the video and tape exchange, and it's obviously not called that anymore, but there was one in Greenwich and there's one in Notting Hill. And there's, you hear of people who work there and they'd have to do this really tough test about which Van Morrison record came out in 72. And you're like, I don't fucking know. Like, did you have to do any of that stuff?
No, I did a work experience here when I was like 16, maybe, for a week. And then I just quit my job in a restaurant and was across the road. And a guy who was coming out who worked here just offered me a job. I'd been coming in the whole time, so it was just purely happenstance. It was like, right day, right place, right time. Yeah.
That's nice.
You didn't have to call them constantly and turn up at their house. No, okay.
I didn't, no.
I think that's a fundamental difference between me and you, Sean.
Yeah, I would not have done that. No.
That's a really nice way just to hang around somewhere enough.
Yeah, that they kind of like, hey, he's
not bad. He's all right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been here for like 11 years now. So
wow.
And I can.
Do you feel like you've been able to? Because obviously there's like it's product. You know, it's easy to see how someone might get cynical about our art being a product, commerce. Yeah. How like what's your relationship been with that stuff? Are you able to kind of carve out like an idea of just like how it works and being able to like maintain your own enjoyment and like love for it?
Well, you definitely go through phases. There's definitely times where I'm just like, oh, it's all cabbages. I'm just a greengrocer selling cabbages. It's all. But, you just kind of have to realize that it does go through phases. You do become jaded with things. But, there nearly always is something that will kind of go like, oh, no, this restores my faith in, the way things work and what. Yeah.
So, Sean, do you like try and be nice to people who come in and say, hi, what are you looking for? Basically be the opposite of high fidelity.
Yeah, I try. Yeah, that's kind of what. Yeah, I've always tried to do that from the start, kind of. But try not to be.
I found him in the record shop.
To be in the band?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we met. Yeah.
The record shop's very important.
Yeah.
He was so nice to his customers that he accidentally joined the band.
I agreed to be in a band out of politeness, essentially.
Exactly. Great customer service. I had 5 out of 5 on Google review.
Hey, really lovely to meet. The album sounds incredible.
Oh, thank you. I'm actually really, really proud of the record. Although we didn't spend a lot of time physically like in the space together making it, mentally we spent so much time and so much effort on this body of work. But also I think, us making it, we very much have the attitude where it's like, if you like it, that's cool. But I don't expect this to be a particularly popular thing.
I feel like you've struck by making a record that requires you to like dedicate yourself to it. Like that's like a trick. That's a good trick of getting people to not just throw it away.
I think like I have the same attitude when it comes to playing shows, like I would rather play to fewer people who are super into it rather than a huge room full of people talking. And I think that just thankfully with the type of music we make, we do usually tend to end up in a small room with not many people, but the people who are there are incredibly into it. Yeah. It's always interesting if you play we've played a lot of festivals and stuff, and I always expect them to be worse than they are in terms of just like people chit-chatting or throwing beer or whatever. We've got a pretty good track record of people turning up and being quite in the zone. Yeah, brilliant. And that is a sustainable way to be an artist, I think. People talk about super fans, but it's like if you can have a few hundred people turn up in every city you play,
I mean, you know, without sort of getting out the accounts here or the Excel spreadsheet, it's like you like to think that could you like to think that could be like a sustainable way to at least cover your costs and come home with a little bit each just to put towards costs.
Yeah, we are lucky in the sense that we don't tend to lose money, which is cool. And that feels like such a, like, the bar is in hell thing to say. But I do think obviously there's a lot of conversation going on at the moment around how artists are just losing money left, right and centre. I think we're particularly lucky though when it comes to touring stuff because we're Irish, and there's a really good organisation called Culture Ireland that do funding for the promotion of Irish work abroad. So you can apply for funding with them if you're going to be touring Irish work around the world. And they've been really, really good to us. They've definitely been the difference between us, like, losing a lot of money or breaking even many times.
We were talking about this recently, though, about how, you know, there is that kind of gap between, you know, we're obviously paying a lot of money up front to then get the funding, or, you know, you're paying a lot of money up front to then hopefully break even in the end. And because we don't make a lot of money as a band, we were saying, you know, it's a good thing we all actually have jobs this time, because there's a lot of money for us all basically to front.
Cough up out of nowhere, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The thing about funding is, as Sean was saying, like, you get it kind of retroactively. So you have to have done the thing first and then you get paid back. But I mean,
it's the same with playing gigs, though. You play the gig and you get paid, you know, 2 weeks, a month later, maybe. So, you know, all that money has already been spent.
Exactly. Yeah. That's where it can get quite tricky financially, I think.
You got to be smart and communicative.
And somehow rich. If there's any rich people out there.
You want to give us tour support?
That want to give us tour support in exchange for nothing. We're here.
There will be some people out there.
I feel like those people would be odd. And I don't know if I would want to actually speak to them. So, Giles, if this is you offering to be a go-between, then that sounds great to me.
I'll call up Elton.
Say.
So there was Mail, Connie, Jamie and Sean here on 101 Part-Time Jobs. Their second album, Something Soft, is coming out next month in May. Go and pre-save it. Go and pre-order it from your local record store. Sound like an excellent record. We'll be back next week with episodes from Super Heaven and also Valerie June. Both, again, so much good music. Both of those have albums coming out. Go and have a listen to them, and see you back here next Tuesday. Go well, cheers!
101 Part-Time Jobs is hosted by Giles Bidder and produced by me, Olivia Swash. This has been a Mighty Moon Media production.